All right, perfect. Welcome once again. For today's training, we'll focus on the mobile app, so both teacher and student apps. We'll be focusing more and spend more time on the teacher app, and then we'll do a quick preview on the student app as well. All right. Perfect. You may have already seen me in another training. Today, I'll be your trainer again, right? My name is Julia Martins, and I'm currently located in Brazil. I am an instructional designer, and I have been a Canvas user for quite a bit of time, and I use Canvas with almost every role but the parent role. All right, for our agenda today, we do have quite a few things to cover, right? So we're going to look into first compatibility, right? So considering the devices we have, what are the apps that we can download? If it is perhaps an older version, is that still compatible? Things like that. Then we'll look through the teacher app. So for this portion, I will essentially be sharing my screen from the app, and then we'll navigate that space together. So we'll look into some settings, the dashboard, communication tools such as announcements, accessing content, creating and editing assignments, and then utilizing the speed grader. If you have a course with some activities, maybe you use the student view in a different training and you submitted some activities that way, you can easily use that in here as well. Otherwise, you can check for students' submission as well. All right. The teacher app, I think the key thing about the teacher app is that it is used and it was created for facilitating the course, not necessarily for creating the course. So when we talk about the teacher app, that's the mindset we need to come with, right? So considering that we're using the teacher app to facilitate the course, but not necessarily to create and put the course together. Then the student app. With the student app, we'll do a general overview. Just so you know what students will see, how students will navigate that space. And it's also nice to mention that you can do student view in the app. So in the teacher app, you have the option to use student view, and that will essentially open the student app, and then you can use your test student there. All right. And then lastly, mobile app considerations. If you were in the course design consideration sessions last week, I actually shared the mobile app design considerations checklist, which has a few things that we should consider as we are putting our course together. All right. Perfect. If you do have any questions throughout the session, you're more than welcome to use the chat. As you are using the chat, I'll ask you to message everyone, just so we're all on the same page and we all know what we're talking about. Rachel has already shared the link to Canvas. You're more than welcome to open Canvas on your device. We won't be using it a whole lot. We'll be mainly using the app, but for login, I think having your web version in your browser, in your computer open, will be easier and a little bit faster as well when it comes to logging into the app. All right. Perfect. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So with Canvas, we have essentially 3 different apps for the different roles, right? So with the teacher app, it has all of the tools that a teacher would need to facilitate the course on the go, right? So let's say you need to grade students, send out communication through announcements, for example. You need to do some grading, things like that. You can easily do that with the app. Also, if you need to fix typos and things like that. What would not be available and what perhaps wouldn't be part of that facilitation? Creating new assignments, managing, changing, editing your modules. So a few things that are usually considered course creation may not be available in the app. All right. For students, so students would do it, use it essentially to take the course, right? So students can check content, submit assignments, participate in discussions, take quizzes. Essentially anything a student would need, they will have access to it in the app. with the plus of push notifications, right? So if they're only using the browser version, their notifications will essentially come in via email. If they have the app on their phones or tablets, they will see those push notifications when they're set to be sent out. All right. And similar to that, we have a parent. Parent role is essentially to support their children. With that app, they are able to, again, check communication, see if the teacher has sent out any announcements. They will be able to see assignment submissions, content. With the parent for both app and web browser, parents cannot see, for example, the student-to-student interactions, right? So that is safe. Obviously, we won't be focusing on the parent today. We'll be looking at teacher and student. Perfect. Compatibility. For all the apps, they are, I think for iOS, we are getting close to the version 17. So we do have quite a few versions in between and should support older devices as well. I haven't run into a situation where someone in a session had a device that was old enough that it wasn't compatible. So I think we do have a pretty good gap here. For Android, I'm pretty sure we are at that same situation. All right. One thing to know about the apps. To download the apps, you will be going to your app center, right? So either Android app or Apple Store and things like that. When searching for the app in order to download, so either in your App Store or Google Play Store, you can, and I think it's what we're all driven to, search for Canvas, right? If you search for Canvas, you may get a lot of different responses, but what I would want it to do is actually search and use the keyword for instructor. That way you will be looking at the correct devices, the correct apps without having too much distractions or different versions available right there. All right. In the chat, I will be sharing a few links. And at this point, I will be asking you to download the app on your device if you haven't already. If you are in the session just to follow along, that is completely fine as well. But we should have everything already there in the chat. When you go into your store, this is essentially the view you have in the apps you will be seeing when searching for download. So let me actually show you my screen so you can see the apps themselves and what those are called. Go. Perfect. So here are the three apps you may be able to find, right? So teacher, student, and then parent. I would advise to download teacher and student, especially if you will want to use the student view and see what students are seeing. So here we have the teacher app and then the student app. I will be giving you a few minutes to download the apps. One thing that is nice to know, as you download and you come here to open the app, it will already prompt you to log in. I'll ask you to wait. Wait, as it is loading. Let's come right here. So when it comes to the download portion, as it is downloaded, for login, you can easily use the QR code for login. And it is much, much faster and it's easier to do. The same way you do have the URL that was shared in the chat, you see that it has regent.instructor.com, right? When we download the app, we aren't able to specify what institution we're coming from. So by using the QR code for mobile login, it kind of skips that for you. So it's easier to find your institution and to log into the correct space right away. In the web version, under account, right here, you will be seeing that QR for mobile login. So you can easily choose this option right here. You ask you if you'd like to proceed, and then you can say proceed. It will generate that QR code, right? And then you can log in from your mobile device, either phone or tablet. And simply by scanning that QR code, you automatically be logged in into your instance to the correct institution. It removes the chance of any errors or any issues that may arise with regular logins. All right. Perfect. Oop, let me go right back. I'll give you a few minutes to download both apps. You may either find your school or use the QR code for login, which I think it's easier. I'll give you about 5 minutes and I'll wait for you to let me know once that is completed, if you're able to get it faster than than the time we have. All right. All right, we have a few seconds left. Let me know if that was enough time. Regarding the question that we got about Mastery and then Canvas, Rachel said we don't have Mastery Connect. So if you try the Mastery, it will probably give you an error. So we'll stick to Canvas or use that QR for login. The QR for login works for teachers and for students. I always advise to use that because it's the easiest, fastest way to have that login process completed. All right. Perfect. So already talked about this. I shared in the chat a mobile Canvas comparison chart. That chart will essentially, let me open it right here as well. Here we go. It will essentially give you differences, if there are any, between the iOS app and the Android app, right? Obviously the look of it will be slightly different. So there is always a theme to a specific device, right? So that kind of follows in this space as well. A few things that are not available in apps in general, so none of the apps will have, is the ability to view groups, right? In Canvas web version, we have here groups under our global navigation menu once we are using groups, so that's important to note. And if that's the case, I would be able to here see my groups. All right. If I haven't been enrolled or added to any groups, I don't see it, not even in this space. So that would be the same for the web as it would be for the apps. Considering I'm not using groups, I will also not be able to filter by groups when I'm using the inbox. Under your profile, you don't have the ability to change to a dark theme in the web version, but it is available in the apps. I feel like most apps are coming up with that functionality. So we have that in our apps. And then when we're looking at course features, here's where we'll be able to distinguish those two functions, right? So creating a course versus facilitating a course, right? So that I mentioned earlier, here's where we'll see that change. For example, announcements is a course communication tool. We'll have full capabilities right here. With assignments, we are able to edit both details and settings. We are able to view submissions and view rubrics, but we are not able to create new assignments. Calendar, unfortunately for the teacher version of the app, we do not have access to the calendar. With the student version, they do have access to the calendar, but for the teacher, we do not. Collaborations and conferences will not be available. And then for chat, we'll be able to see it if it is already enabled. If it is not, we don't have the ability to change that right here. Discussions will be able to, again, course communication tool, add, delete, pin, unpin, edit, changes, essentially anything regarding that discussion area. ePortfolio will only be available in the web version. The LTI external tools apps. depending on the tool, we'll have the ability to access those. But one thing that we'll not be able to do is embed or insert any tools or apps from the Reach Content Editor. So inside the app, the Reach Content Editor is a simplified version. I wouldn't even call it the Reach Content Editor. We'll say it's a text editor. We will be able to change font, formatting, but we don't have many of the fancier tools that we have in the web version. So that's one thing that, again, we're missing out considering facilitating and not creating a course. Files, will have the ability to use that. With grading, it is slightly different when using the app, right? As a teacher, you not be seeing the grade book. So you not have the ability to view grades under your course navigation menu. But you still are able to grade assignments. You still are able to message students, view grades, grading periods, add comments, provide feedback, use the SpeedGrader. So a lot of the tools will be there. We'll be able to access SpeedGrader, grade, and so on. We just won't have that spreadsheet view of the gradebook. And that's what we mean by view gradebook right here. Modules, I think, is the biggest difference. The modules, they must be set up, laid out, and structured in the web version. When using the app, you will be able to see modules, you'll be able to navigate modules, but you're not able to add items, add modules, reorder, and change the modules themselves. You'll not be able to apply requirements, prerequisites, and so on. All of that must be done with the web version. Again, thinking about creating versus facilitating. Outcomes, they must be added again in the web version as it's part of creating content. Pages, add pages, edit pages, preview pages, delete pages, set as front page. All of it can be done with the apps. Again, you can add a page, but you won't be able to add it to a module, right? So it is slightly limited when it comes to the purpose of that page. And also, it is a limited version of the Reach Content Editor. So if you want to do nice design, perhaps add some videos, integrations, engagement, all of those things you may not be able to do because we have a simplified version for text editing, all right? People will have the ability to view people, but we won't have the ability to view groups. So that's one thing. Quizzes, we won't be able to add, create new quizzes, but we will have the ability to preview the quizzes. The ability to edit may be limited depending on the app. The Android app may have limited access. And moderate must be done from the web version. So when we're talking about moderate, we're looking at adding or giving extra attempts, enabling a student to have extra time, reassign, things like that. All right. With the Reach Content Editor, we'll do basic text formatting, so bold, italic, font color, background color, but we don't have the ability to do embed, or so a few things will be missing. We'll look into it. Attachments, you can add attachments. The thing is, with the app, attachments can be files, images, so for anything that you can access from your device. You won't break it down like we have in the web version where you do images or documents and so on. So that will be slightly different. Rubrics, they must be created, edited, and attached to the activity from the web version, but you will be able to use that rubric from SpeedGrader inside the app. Scheduler, as the calendar is not available, scheduler will also not be available. And then for SCORM files, you can view them without a problem, but adding those from the app, it's not recommended. Again, we would definitely recommend using the web version. There are a few, it gives you a little summary of the things that are not currently supported. It is fairly recent with the update. So let's go ahead and get back to our session. Again, this resource is shared in the chat, and any updates, anything that comes up will be updated in this space as well. So if you are interested and will be using the app heavily, you can easily bookmark the space and check for updates later on. All right. Perfect. All right. Once again, as I mentioned, having the web version be part of that course creation, right? So before the course starts, when you need to create assignments, create quizzes, align outcomes, organize modules, create content, definitely use the web version. For the teacher app, you can easily and very comfortably use during the course for facilitation. So if you need to communicate, send out announcements, do quick edits and fixes, change due dates, and obviously grading. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and jump back into the tablet. So let me go ahead and change my sharing options. Perfect. All right, here we go. So right here, I'll have my teacher app. I'll go ahead and select the app right now. And you'll see that it does look slightly different, right? So the first thing I want to do is go right here up to my top corner, right below that time, my time and date. I'll go into those three lines like a hamburger sandwich icon. I'll go ahead and click right here. Perfect. And this will display my settings. So usually things that you find under your account, you'll find it right here for the app. All right. So here I'll have access to my own account. I then can see my files. Again, files will be created based on the course. If I need to create more files, I can easily click on that plus icon right here. I can access Studio from this space as well. You would still be able to record videos, store videos, edit videos, and manage that from this space. And then I have settings. Once I come into settings, here I am able to change my landing page. And what would be the landing page? It's the landing page for the app itself, right? So right here, as you follow my cursor, right at the bottom, let me try. Right here in the bottom of my screen, you'll see I have courses, to do, or inbox. Those are the options I will have for my landing page as well, right? So as I log into the app, what is the first thing I want to see? Do I want to see my to-do list because I will jump into my tasks? Do I want to see the inbox? Is that my main use for the app? Or should I stick to courses? I'll leave mine as courses because it is the default system. I can then change the appearance. Most likely, when you open the app for the first time, it will already tell you that it does have the light and dark theme. Regarding the themes, one thing that I have noticed from use is that although you see that the text will adjust, obviously the background will adjust. So at this point, I have white background with darker text. If I change to dark, then I'll have light text and then dark background. The only thing that may not change or may not be adjusted is right here, the theme colors. So depending on the theme that you have, that may not be as accessible as it is in one theme or the other. All right, so that's the only thing that I would advise you to keep an eye on. All right. Perfect. Next, we have email notifications. The same way we can adjust email notifications from the web version, we can do it from this space as well. So for submissions, do I want to receive those notifications immediately, daily, weekly, never? And I have here a number of different things that I can edit those settings for. And I'll also have push notifications. Push notifications will be for app notifications. Do I want to be notified of new submissions, announcements created by me? So let's say scheduled announcements to be released throughout the course, throughout the term. Maybe I want to be aware of that when those are released, right? Course content, due date, grading, a number of different things. With the push notifications are always immediately, right? So I don't have the ability to change to weekly summary, for example. I am simply seeing if I want the push notifications or not. So I can edit this. Maybe I'll change those as well. Perfect. All right. Once I'm happy, I'll go back to settings, and then I have about, terms of policy, privacy policy, terms of use, and then GitHub information as well. All right. I'll go ahead and hit done, and then go back right here into that menu. I can also look for help, act as user, change user. Act as user will most likely only be available to admins, but the change user option is something that is also available for students, and mainly that's why it's here. If, for example, a student, you have two siblings that are students and they're both using Canvas, perhaps in even different institutions. Maybe one is in college, one is in high school, and they're sharing that device. The change user option will essentially switch back and forth without asking all that sign up information, right? So that way, if they want to go back and forth, they can easily do so without having to get the QR code or searching for the institution, login, password, one-time passcode, things like that, right? That's why this is here. For you, most likely that wouldn't, you wouldn't need that tool as much, all right? And then obviously log out. Perfect. So these are our options and tools for the settings. Next, I want to take a look right here inside courses. So you see right here in the bottom of my screen, I'm currently under courses. Instead of saying dashboard, it will simply say courses. The thing is, right here up on the top corner, you have the gear icon, which will allow you to change from grid to list. So how you want to see those courses. You can enable or disable that color overlay. Right back here. Here we go. Now I have color overlay. If I remove it, I think it was flipped. Here we go. That will go away. All right. If I go into edit dashboard, that will give me access to all courses. So the terminology is essentially flipped from the web version, right? In the web version, when you're at desktop, when you're at dashboard, you see only favorited courses. When you go into courses, all courses, you see everything. Here, it's the other way around. So inside courses, you see only favorited. When you go into edit dashboard, you see all of your courses. All right. From here, I can see a few different things. So the term, right? You indicate the term. You indicate my role. So if I'm a teacher, if I'm a student, what is my role inside this course? And then it will indicate the course status. Is it published or not? So the check mark for published, the here this icon when it's not published. I can essentially access those courses from here as well. So let me come here for students for performance-based teaching. It's not favorited, but I still have the ability to open this course, maybe navigate into my modules, see what's there. Or if I go back to courses, and then here, once again, edit dashboard right here on the top corner, I can use that star to favorite it as that star fills in, or unfavorite and remove that from my dashboard. So here, once again, those stars will be used to filter, add, or remove courses from that courses tab. To get back to courses, I can either use the arrow right here up at the top or that column for navigation in the bottom of my screen. So I'll go back to courses right here. And I have the courses I want to use and look at today. All right. For each course, what are a few things that we can do? Similar to the use and functionality from the web version, I can come into those three dots, give it a nickname. So if I'd like to nickname this course for myself, again, the nickname will not impact students, only you as a user. And I can also change the color. So maybe if I want to use a different color, I can easily choose that color, hit done, and that will be updated for my text. Let me do this one. Let me do this one. Go ahead and update, and you see that that color will now change. All right. Essentially, that will be the use for this courses, and then obviously a way to access the courses, right? So if I click right here, then the course itself will display. I'll have my navigation menu. Let me do this one that has should have a home page. I can navigate out this way as well. All right. Next, right here in the bottom, I will also have the to-do. The to-do will have essentially a number of things you have to do. The number is regarding student activity. So you see here, I don't have 37 things listed out, but if you notice, I have here that for this group work and collaboration job description, I have 4 submissions that need grading. For math and science cell worksheet, I have 2 submissions that need grading. So math and science, 5 submissions that need grading. So if I add all of those submissions, then I would be looking at those 37. All right. Here, I am able to identify the type of activity based on the icon, right? So in here, I have an assignment, another assignment. Here I have a discussion. And if I scroll down, you see here, I have a rocket ship for a quiz, right? I can also identify the course. So math and science is one course, group collaboration is one course. And I think those are the 2 I have right now. Then the title of that activity, job description, group activity, style worksheet, math docs, trig identity. So I have here the title of the activity and the due date. So for example, if right here for math talks, I'll see that it is due on July 4th. So maybe I want to wait until the due date hits, so I know all student submissions should be in, and then I want to grade that, right? So I can take a look and see what I want to grade right now, what perhaps I want to wait a couple days. All right. Back right here to our navigation, I can easily use the inbox. The inbox is one way to communicate with students. Pros about the inbox is that all communication will be safe and stored right here. Canvas will automatically create filters based on your courses, right? So if I want to look at a specific course, I can easily do so right here. I can use the unread, starred, sent, and then archive options as well. And again, everything will be organized and can be filtered out by course activity. When creating communication from the inbox, I can easily do so through that plus icon. Right here, it will ask me to select a course. So maybe I want to do this math and science. In the to option, I can see all students in this course, or I can go into students, see what are my students, who is there. I can pick and choose from the student list, or I can select all students. In the subject, I can then type what I would like that to be. So maybe welcome to the course. What do I want the body of that message to be? Please use this inbox tool to communicate with me. Thanks. I can also enable that students are receiving an individual message. That way they don't know who else is in that thread. I also have the ability to attach add an attachment, right? So by clicking on the plus, I have the ability to record audio, use the camera to add an image, take an image right away, upload file, or choose from library. These are the options we're looking at when under attachment inside the app, right? So everything will fall under that plus. While sometimes in Canvas you have, right, add media, add document, and so on. In the app in general, you'll be looking at attachments and then media, use a camera, upload file, or choose from library. Perfect. I'll go ahead and hit send, and then those students will receive that inbox message. All right. As that loads, do we have any questions up to this point? All right, perfect. Here we go. With the to-do, you will be able to jump right ahead to SpeedGrader from this space. We will go back to it, so I will skip it for now, but I can easily navigate to SpeedGrader from this space. All right. So I think this is one very common question we get at this point. All right. At this moment, I'll actually choose a course and create, look through some of the activities we have right there, and then we'll create an announcement. All right. So let me go ahead and then I'll choose this math and science course. All right. First, things to consider in this space. So right here up in the top, you have that course style image or quick GIF video. From this space, you will be seeing your course navigation menu. You'll see and notice that the course navigation menu will be simpler. You will not have all of the tools that you had inside the web version. It will look simplified. And for that reason, we must make sure students will have the same access we do, right? So things that usually students would see, you will also be seeing. I got a message that was supposed to be to Rachel from D-Mills. So unfortunately, Rachel cannot see it. So I would advise to email. All right. All right, back here. So you see that your navigation menu is very, very different, right? So if I jump back to our web version of this course, you see that I have here home, assignment, announcements, modules, grades, up to syllabus that is visible to my students. As I scroll down, you see that I have, for example, big blue buttons, collaborations, assignments, pages, outcomes, a lot of things here that are not even supported in the app, right? So big blue buttons, collaborations, and outcomes, for example, are not supported in the app. For that reason, those will also not be present in the app when I am using and I have that course open. All right. Perfect. That is why this will be a simplified version of that menu. Mainly for navigation, we'll be using modules, right? So we have the ability to see my modules right here. I will have the ability to navigate through that module. If a module is published or unpublished, it's one of the things that I am able to identify right here. I can collapse and expand, but I do not have the ability to change if it is published to unpublished or anything like that from this space. All right. Exactly the same way I have in the web version, I am able to see if I have any prerequisites and requirements. So must submit, must view, things like that. If I have an activity with a due date, I can see the due date right from the space. If it is graded, I'll see total points. From the icons, I can see what that is, right? From a discussion to a page, to an assignment, to a quiz, and so on. All right. I'll go right back. But at this point, I want to focus on the very first thing we see right here, that is announcements. All right. Announcements is our main communication tool. It is one thing that will essentially push out that communication, being that any notification that is from announcements will be sent out immediately from the app to the email to when students open Canvas, the first thing that they will see that icon and so on, right? To create an announcement, I can easily use that plus icon right here up in the top. I can then add a title. So maybe I want a welcome message here as well. Welcome to the course. And then I can work on my description. Now, let me detach here my device from my keyboard. This is what you have in C as the rich content editor. So it's much, much simpler than what we have in the web version, right? You see here, I have the bold option, italic, from the font color, right? So I can choose here on the preset. I don't have a whole lot of options here, but I have some preset. I can also do bullet list. I can do numbered list. I can still do embed links. So I can here add that URL and then add that text. I would have the ability to use this camera icon to take an image right here, to take a picture or record something. And the option for the frame right here would then give me the ability to add an image. All right. Down below, I'll have the undo, redo, in this case from my keyboard itself, and then the paste option. And my device will also give me the bold, italic, and underline options as well. All right. So rich content editor, I think the biggest difference, but again, thinking and keeping in mind that we're using this for facilitation of the course, but not to create the course content in here. So my message can be, I hope you all have a great time as we talk about math and science. For my settings, where do I want to post this announcement, right? So if I have multiple sections, do I want to delay posting maybe to a certain date and time, or do I want to post automatically or right away? Do I want to allow users to comment? Do I want them to comment before, to post before seeing other replies? And then do I want to allow liking? Allow liking for only graders or for everyone? So most of the settings that are available in the web version will be available right here. And one thing that often we see under options is the ability to add an attachment. And in this case, I'll have this right here with that paper clip. Here we go. And then options to record audio, use camera, upload file, or go to my file, my photo library. All right. Go ahead and hit done. And then that announcement will be sent out right away. Perfect. Once that announcement is there, I can see here my list of announcements. So if I had more, if I had some scheduled, all of that could be identified right here. On those three dots, once I have that announcement open, I can subscribe. So that way I would receive notifications if there are any replies. I can edit or I can delete. If I go under edit, I am able to readjust the text and then play with the options as well. All right. Perfect. I showed you quite a few things, so I want to give you time to practice, but also explore this space a little bit. So let me go right back into our slide. Here we go. And I'll give you a, let me take this out. I'll give you about, oh my gosh, 5 minutes to play with some of the things we looked at already, from the dashboard into a course, and then opening an announcement and then creating an announcement from that course. If you don't want that to impact your students, if your course already has students, you can schedule that for later and then delete it if needed as well. All right, let me know if you have any questions up to this point. I would ask you to save any questions about discussions, assignments, and then our grading process. All right, perfect. Let me go back to our app. Here we go. Perfect. So at this point, I want to go back to my course menu. So regards navigation, I can easily use that back button right here on the top corner. And then I can either use modules, which should be what I'm using, especially replicating student experience, right? My students should be using modules to see the content, perhaps following a certain order. So go right here. Inside modules. One thing that is really, really nice about the app that honestly, I like it better than the web version because of this is that I can easily select, for example, here, that first item. That item will display here on my main screen. So I'll be able to see here what that discussion is. I can see my students' replies. I can still use the next button to navigate around that module, go to the next item, move back and forth. But I am not missing out on that module structure. So even though that main screen is displaying the content of this discussion, I can still see that I am in the second item inside this module. If I click next, then I will see that I moved on to that third item under a different text header. If there are indentations, all of that, I would be able to see those right here, right? From the items we have right here. So starting with discussions. For assessment activities in general, but discussions as well. Here up in the top, I'll see the title of that activity. I will then see total points and then if it is published or not. For due date, go one up. If I do have a due date, I would be able to see the due date. If it is assigned to everyone, if I have differentiation, all of that will display right here in this space. Available from until, if I have set those days, I would see here what those are. In regards to submissions, I will always see a little bit of a preview for every assessment activity. I'll see if I have any items that have already been graded. In this case, I have 0. Assignments that need grading, and then assignments that have not been submitted. So as you guessed, I have a total of 8 students right here. 5 have already submitted, 3 have not submitted yet. If I click on each of those, I will see which students are. So by clicking here on needs grading, it will automatically show you here on the corner that I am applying one filter. That filter is that they need grading, all right? So at this point, I can see here, Luca, Mindy, Lilo, Abel, and then Alberto have already submitted and they need grading. If I go to my filter right here on the corner, I can then change to scored more or less, have been graded or not submitted. If I go to not submitted and I hit done, I'll see the students that still need to complete this work. You will notice that although I have the filter, I can then choose more, less than, click right here. All submissions late, not submitted, needs grading, graded, scored more or less than, and then the entire class. Those filters can be used and then applied as message students who would be available in the grade book as well, right? So in this case, I have the not submitted selected. So I'll use here this little letter, right, to use the inbox and message those students. So Canvas will automatically pre-fill here the course. Then the students that fall under that criteria that have not submitted, it will pre-fill the subject line, not submitted, and then the title of the activity. And then I can easily compose a message that will be sent via inbox. So, hello, I notice you haven't submitted yet. Do you need any help? And then I can hit send. And then that message will be sent via inbox It will be stored in the inbox. Students will not see who else received that message. Because I am using the message students who, those will be individual messages, so I don't need to worry about them knowing who else got that message. All right. By clicking on back, I'll get back to that discussion itself. Here, similar to what I would see with the announcements, I have the 3 dots more options menu. Here I can mark all as read, right? So when it comes to discussions, you will be indicating if I have any new replies. So maybe I want to mark all as read. Then I have the ability to mark all as unread. I can subscribe if I want to receive notifications as submissions or replies come in. Edit or delete. If I go into edit, here we go. I have the ability to change and make adjustments to the text itself. Or if I scroll down, I can change here some of the options, right? So allow threaded replies, yes or no, must post before seeing replies, yes or no, allow liking, points, if I want to change the total of points, how I want points to be displayed. The assign to by default for everyone, and then that specific due date. If I want to do differentiation, maybe those students do open here, like class list. I don't remember, I think it was like Peter. Can do one more, and then perhaps Alberto. I want those 2 students to have a different due date. Maybe I'll give them a few extra days. Perfect. I can easily allow and enable those differentiations from this space as well. When it comes to discussions and assignments, for quizzes, we will not see this. All right, so go ahead and hit done. Perfect. And then those changes will come into place. Perfect. All right, so let me refresh. Let me go previous and then next again. Perfect. All right. Here in due date, you see that now it will say multiple, right? Because I have that differentiation. When I click on it, then I will see that I have everyone for the 11th, and then I have 2 specific students due on the 19th. To see which students those are, I would need to go into that edit view, and then it would indicate who has that different due date. All right. Let me look into an assignment. The assignment will be very, very similar. Here, title, total points, status, due date information, submission types that I have made available, the description itself, and then that review, right? So graded, needs grading, not submitted. Up in the top, instead of the 3 dots, with assignments, I will already have an edit button. When it comes to editing, I can change title, description, and then some of the options, right? So for points, display grades, and then the assign to. I will not have the ability to change the assignment group, to change submission type. I will not have the ability to make this a group work activity or make this a peer review activity, right? All of those settings should come into place from the web version, but I will be able to make few adjustments if needed right here. For quizzes, I think I have a classic quiz right here. Here we go. For quizzes, classic quizzes and new quizzes will display slightly different. New quizzes will essentially open right up the actual new quiz on top of the app because it is an external tool. So we will look slightly different. For classic quizzes, as I click on edit, very similar to the assignment, I will be able to change the description, change the title, and play a little bit with the settings. With classic quizzes, a lot of the settings, setup, layout itself happens in that details tab, right? So I will be able to make those adjustments right here. So time limit, shuffle answers, assignment group, multiple attempts, show 1 question at a time, and then the availability options will be here as well. So a few different things that I'll be able to do. Go ahead and click done. Here for that submission, I will have that same breakdown. I can easily go right here and that it will apply that filter. And as I click on those submissions, SpeedGrader would open, which will be the next portion of the session right after the next activity. All right, so you have different options depending on the assignment type, but essentially it will look and feel very, very similar. And I think the most important portion is the submission tab, which usually in the web version would be a column, right? Where you would have X submissions graded from X submissions. All right, so let me go ahead and get back to our slides. So perhaps I'll give you about 3 minutes to explore those. So an assignment, a quiz, or a discussion, and see what those look like. What are some of the options you have? If you have student submission, see that breakdown, the message students who, and things like that. If you have any questions, please feel free to address those. Oh, all right, perfect. Let's get back to our app. Perfect. All right. Now, we'll actually go to a student activity and then go through that grading process. All right. So let me actually use this cell worksheet. Perfect. Or maybe let me do this one. Perfect. All right. So this one, I have a few more submissions. To get to the students' activities and to your grading process, there's 2 different ways, right? So one, going into a course, going into that activity like we're doing right here, selecting the activity, and then you see the breakdown of submissions. Then I can easily go into the need grading. I will see simply the ones that do need to be graded. I can select that student, for example, and then SpeedGrader will open. If I have a rubric attached, I'll see that rubric. If the preview is enabled, I'll be able to see that preview, grade them right here. Or I can use that to do option, right? So if I go into to do, I will see here what activities do need to be graded. So for example, that trig identities, can click right here, and then it will automatically open SpeedGrader, right? So a few different ways to get to this space. All right, given that this is an assignment that is a file upload or student annotation, I do have a rubric attached. My rubric already has different criteria, ranges, and so on. So all of that is already laid out and set up for me. Again, considering it is file upload, I will have the annotation tools that I do have available online as well, right? So if I want to pinpoint something missing, I guess last name, for example, I can add that comment to that pinpoint area. If I want to add text, so great job here, I can easily do that. If I want to do a strike through, perhaps add a comment. Please revise. Hit done. So I can use all of those tools. Maybe I just want to do a quick check. I want to make this green. Go do a quick check, Maybe that one that was incorrect, I want to indicate that it's wrong. I can easily annotate on this space with the tools that were provided, right? Options will be that pinpoint right here up in the corner, the highlight. I can easily highlight that portion. Here I have a few different colors, entering text, strike through, the pencil where I can just draw around. This one will allow me to select a specific area. So let me do, for example, with this purple. I can then use this rectangle, And as I click on it, can use here the eraser. Maybe I want to remove this one. I can just drag my finger around it or just hold. All right. Annotation tools, the same that I have available in the web version. Now, the way that this column right here will work and look is what will be slightly different from the web version. So the grade, I have the option to just enter a grade by clicking on that plus, and I can just enter that grade, mark them as excused. I'll hit cancel for now. Or if I have a rubric attached, I can use that rubric to simply score that student. So I'll just be entering those points. And then you see that the points will be add up, and then that grade will take form. Now, for that to happen, I must have a rubric attached and select to use rubric for grading. All right. If I have a criteria with a long description, I can easily go into view long description, and that will display right here. One thing that I will be missing out essentially is the ability to do comments on the rubric scores, right? But I have the ability to use this right here, add all of those points, see how my students scored right here up in the top. And I can leave comments simply as comments, but not comments inside the rubric, right? If I click to comment, I will then have access to this comment area. So I can say, great job. A few comments added to the document. Please check it out. And then I'll hit send. All right, so I do have the ability to communicate this way. The plus icon right here will give me the ability to record audio, record video for feedback, or choose a file. Again, for files, I'll be able to go into the files tab on my device. If I have a cloud app, things like that, all of that would be able to be accessed right here. If a student did submit multiple files, I have here a tab solely for files, and I can go through and see what those are. All right. Up in the top, I have the eye icon. The eye icon will get me my grade posting policies, right? So do I want to post all grades? Do I want to hide all grades? Do I want to hide for a specific section, things like that? I can easily adjust all of this right here. If I click on post grades, then that grade will be posted. Now, how do I navigate from one student to the other? Speed Grader gives us that speed portion, right? In the web version, you have the arrows to click back and forth. Here, I would simply drag and drop. So I'm simply using a skip, right? So my fingers essentially dragging across that screen, and then it's navigating from one activity to the other. All right. So here we'll have another submission. It will look exactly the same. So I went to demo a few other options, right? So what would look like if I were to grade a quiz with SpeedGrader? Very, very similar. Let me go right ahead. Perfect. Essentially, it will display as a student report. If I need to add comments, I will be able to add additional comments right here on this space. I am able to identify the student right here on the top corner. All right. If I am using a rubric, I can use the rubric right here and change that grade if needed. Here, this scale will also allow me to readjust that student's grade if I need to. I can scroll down, see the entire submission report, here the one they got wrong. Maybe I want to change this, maybe they were really close. I can easily change this to 1, for example. I can check all the other questions. Maybe this one they haven't completed, so maybe I can question why they haven't completed this one. And considering I did make a change, I must click on update scores for that change to take place. Perfect, here we go. So now we went from a 10 out of 13 to a 11 out of 13. All right. The options for comments and then files is still available. But again, considering I am using a quiz submission, I won't be seeing that. The eye icon for post policy will still be here and it will apply to all assessment type, right? So assignments, graded discussions, or graded quizzes. And then lastly, we can talk and check the discussions. So for a discussion that is submitted, I will be seeing that student reply. Let's wait for it to load. Here we go. So here is the reply that came from that student. So in this case, I had an infographic, the chemistry infographic. So here I can identify what was the discussion title. I can see that they did share their infographic and I really liked it. I can then grade them. So maybe it is really good. If I have attached that rubric, I can check that out. I could easily adjust those grades. Maybe I want to give them a 20 out of 20. If I want to leave any comments, again, these comments would stick to SpeedGrader comments. So I'm not commenting in the discussion. I'm commenting as feedback from SpeedGrader. And then if they had uploaded files, I could see files. Again, because it is a discussion, this won't be the case. All right. So the experience on SpeedGrader will be very much the same as it will in the web version. Very little difference with how the rubric will display and that the rubric must be attached to that activity ahead of time. But essentially the experience of providing feedback and so on will remain. All right. Perfect. Let me go ahead and give us a few minutes to explore SpeedGrader now. And then once again, I'll ask you to address any questions you may have. So give us about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. All right. Perfect. So that was what we were going to talk about. Here we go. Regarding the teacher app. All right. In the teacher app, as you have a course open, so you must have a course open, you will have as the very last option in your course navigation menu. Here we go. Right here, the student view option, right? You notice that you did not have settings as your very last option. Settings will actually be found all the way up in the top, right next to the course title. Here we will have the option for settings, but it is a simplified version where you can essentially set a home page, but you are not able to change navigation, look at apps, anything like that. All right. As the very last option in course navigation, here we'll have the student view. So if you click right here, it will automatically open that student app, and then you can navigate this specific course in student view and then complete student activities with that test student. In my case, I have a student already logged in, so I'll actually switch to that student app. Go ahead and open right up. Perfect. And the main difference in this version is that it is used for the students to take the course and not necessarily facilitate, right? So students will have the ability to view groups, which teachers cannot do, right? So you see here, I have my final presentations group, my resume activities group. And in my navigation, I have a few more items. So I have my dashboard instead of courses. I will have my calendar, right? In the calendar, students can identify which days have activities due. So based on those tiny dots. And then if I have more, they will have more dots right here. If I go on the 14th, you see I have 2 activities. On the 11th, I have just 1. They are able to jump right to that activity right from this space. If I have here an embedded 2, if I want to do that cell worksheet, From the activity, they can simply use this submit button, and then they can either use the student annotation as it is enabled, or they can use file upload or look for studio. For the student annotation, it will essentially give students a worksheet to complete and then submit. Because I am in the app, it's much easier to use here this too. And then maybe I'll say here, no, yes. Right? So I can add this and then make any changes, make any adjustments. If I want to just use the text, I can do that as well. So here, I can add that right here. If I want to change the color of something, maybe I don't know this one. Maybe I want to do a quick strike through right here. Oh, it's added as an image, so I can't do a strike through. I want to just select a specific area, things like that, students will still be able to use those tools to complete this activity. All right. In the to-do list, it will be a to-do list based on due date, right? So activities that have the due date that are coming up will display right here in chronological order. So you see here that the first activity I have is actually from May, which is actually behind. I can come right here. Maybe I have something that is due right now. I have here a few other activities from different courses. Under notifications here on the bottom, things that may not have a to-do list that I have been notified of. Could be changes in the activities, replies, can be an announcement right here, the one we did just today, right? It can be inbox messages, such as the one that we got, that welcome to the course. Anything that I was notified would be saved right here in chronological order. So again, from due date change to announcements, to feedback, to grade that has been posted, any of those will come right here, and then the student can check it from this space. And then lastly, the inbox. Students will also have access to the inbox. Here, the message we sent earlier today regarding the math and science course. Students will have the ability to here create messages, reply, also apply those filters based on the courses they are enrolled, and so on. All right. Considering they open a specific course, the navigation will be very much the same that we had as a teacher, right? So I can click right here. Click on modules here. That will then display. I can use the next and previous buttons to navigate. If I want to play this video right in, submit that description. See here, page content, look at that activity once again. And then I have here an worksheet that has an activity embedded, so I can also interact with my content in this space as well. All right. So navigation itself will be very similar. Students can participate, submit, take quizzes, all of that from the space. Course navigation menu right here will be simplified based on what the teacher has enabled. And one difference is that students do have access to grades because again, they're not looking at an entire spreadsheet. They will be looking at the assignments, their status, and their feedback. All right. Slightly different. I think the big change is that they do have the calendar and they do have the notifications portion. Perfect. So let me get right back here. With the students, the student app, they will also have a few differences, but again, most things will be available to them as well. So let me paste a resource right here that will give you all of the student mobile app features. Perhaps if you would like to share with your students, paste that right up. And then considering that there are a few things regarding design that can be addressed if you know and you want to make the student experience in the app easier and perhaps more pleasant, right? We did cover most of those in our course design consideration session. So if you were in that one, you probably already know everything that will be in that list. The mobile checklist is also in the chat. So if you'd like to download, check it out, you have the ability to do so. All right. Perfect.